Chapter 1101, The Last Charge. The Black Destruction Serpent Dragon was severely injured by Demigod Dragon Emperor before, but it had recovered to the level of a sacred king, probably due to some fortune that it obtained in the God Corpse. However, the true strength of the Black Destruction Serpent Dragon surpassed most sacred kings. At this moment, the Black Destruction Serpent Dragon was heading forward on its path of light at a speed that surprised even Zhao Feng, but the other experts were more shocked by Zhao Feng's speed. Anyone that stood out amongst their peers were unparalleled experts that were at least sacred kings. Even the strongest demigod of the Great Gon Lord dynasty, Demigod Dragon Emperor, gave a glance toward Zhao Feng in surprise. "Good brat. Looks like my choice wasn't wrong," Demigod Scarlet Blood of the Tai family said with a faint smile. He was relatively far away from Zhao Feng, but Zhao Feng's current speed proved his potential and strength. "That human isn't simple." A non-human demigod from the Dark Capital cult gave Zhao Feng a deep glance. He wouldn't mind killing a junior that had potential from the opposing Lord dynasty. "Damn this brat." Demigod Ferocity, who was now behind Zhao Feng, gritted his teeth, but there was nothing he could do. His soul was his weakness. If he forcefully tried to catch up to Zhao Feng, he might be affected by the illusions, and if he was hit by the balls of divine power in such a state, that would be his death. Of course, it wasn't just Zhao Feng that stood out. Nan Gongsheng's terrifying strength also stunned many experts. At this point, Nan Gongsheng was at the late stages of the mystic light realm, and his comprehension had caught up to his cultivation. He was able to control more power of the evil god as he charged forward in a fierce manner. At the same time, Kun Yun's progress wasn't any slower than normal demigods. Kun Yun focused on body strengthening in his past life, so his soul was his weakness, but ever since he was revived, Kun Yun paid a lot of attention to his soul. Sacred King Samsara, Sacred King Darkscreen, and a few powerful non-human sacred kings also stood out. Zhao Feng soon passed through the test of illusions successfully. "I've passed through half of the path of light now." Zhao Feng had a grim expression as he looked forward. The expressions of the nearby experts from both Lord dynasties also became solemn as they slowed down. "The real test has only just begun," a non-human expert said in a solemn tone. The balls of divine power that were falling from the sky before were extremely big and had obvious auras, so they were relatively easy to dodge. However, the balls of divine power now were only the size of a fist, and they fell much more quickly too. They were also compacted together, which increased the difficulty of dodging them by more than 2 times. If one said that the journey before was choosing experts compared to the same cultivation level, then this journey was choosing experts that could challenge those with higher cultivation. There were also still other tests on the path of light. Whoosh! 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 Compact golden swords of light appeared before Zhao Feng. Each golden sword contained the element of metal, and it could instantly kill early-stage sacred lords. Wang 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 tilde. Zhao Feng circulated his sacred lightning body and blocked these golden swords of light head-on. Bam! Several dozen golden swords landed on Zhao Feng and shattered. Luckily, my sacred lightning body managed to break through to the late stages of the 6th level before this. Even attacks from normal late-stage sacred lords will find it hard to damage me. Zhao Feng was full of confidence. Even though the swords of light in front of him were formed from the pure element of metal, it was hard to pierce through his defense. Zhao Feng's attention was mainly on the balls of divine power falling from the sky. On the other side, Demigod Ferocity also managed to pass through the test of illusions, and his expression became more solemn as he saw the situation of those around him. "I need to surpass that brat." Demigod Ferocity charged forward with a fierce expression. Several dozen golden swords of light also appeared in front of him, and these swords were able to instantly kill normal demigods. Although Demigod Ferocity specialized in defense, he didn't dare to block the swords of light head-on. He could only try to avoid them. The other experts all revealed their skill on the path of light to deal with the danger in front of them. The tests on the path of light reflected one's defense, speed, agility, intent, understanding of the 5 elements, and other aspects, so it was fair for everyone. Even if some experts didn't specialize in a certain aspect and spent more time to pass that test, they could catch up in the aspect that they specialized in. Zhao Feng's overall speed was a bit slower than demigods, but almost no test could slow him down. Even though the balls of divine power in the sky were extremely compact and fast, Zhao Feng could easily dodge them with a god's spiritual eye. Fuck, I can't catch up. The distance between Zhao Feng and demigod ferocity started to increase, and the latter could only look at the figure of Zhao Feng's back. At a certain moment, Zhao Feng caught up to demigod withered breath. Your eye bloodline is very good. Demigod withered breath looked at Zhao Feng with a hint of praise. Senior is overestimating me. Zhao Feng had been using the power of his left eye ever since he stepped on the path of light. This was why he could easily dodge the balls of divine power falling from the sky and catch up to demigod withered breath. Zhao Feng stopped after going forward a bit more. The speed of the light sword shooting toward him also slowed down. I should recover my energy first. Zhao Feng sat down on the path of light and took out many herbs and medicine that recovered his yuan qi and soul power. My preparations weren't enough. I should have duplicated some more 100 origin sacred honey. Zhao Feng shook his head. Apart from increasing one's chances of breaking through to the mystic light realm, the 100 origin sacred honey also healed one's injuries and recovered yuan qi. It also helped the soul as well. At this moment, Zhao Feng only had one more portion of 100 origin sacred honey left. If he used it, he wouldn't be able to duplicate it in the future. Zhao Feng had used up a lot of energy on the way, and the path of light was still sucking away the mystic light sacred power in his body. If Zhao Feng had a large amount of 100 origin sacred honey, he could have used it to quickly recover all the energy he had used up. Zhao Feng went on his way again after resting for a while. Zhao Feng, the moment I reach the end is the moment you die. Demigod Ferocity's voice sounded nearby. Because Zhao Feng had rested for a while, Demigod Ferocity caught up. That is? Zhao Feng completely ignored Demigod Ferocity and looked into the distance. On a certain path of light, Sacred King Samsara completely ignored the golden swords of light and allowed them to pierce through his body as he quickly sped through the path of light with extremely fast speed. Those that knew a bit about Sacred King Samsara knew that he had the Samsara immortal body, so this test was useless against him. He only had to dodge the balls of divine power falling from the sky. After all, when a power was strong enough, it could even destroy the intent of Samsara. Zhao Feng also realized that the Black Destruction Serpent Dragon was very fast. It was on par with the top demigods of both Lord dynasties. The Black Destruction Serpent Dragon also seemed to know where the balls of divine power were going to fall down and easily avoided all danger. Black Carp, you're really not scared of death, are you? Demigod Dragon Emperor, who was next to the Black Destruction Serpent Dragon, spoke. You still have face to say that after failing to kill me twice? The Black Destruction Serpent Dragon mocked. Humph, let's see where you will run to once we reach the end. Demigod Dragon Emperor harumphed coldly. At this moment, Demigod Dragon Emperor couldn't do anything to the Black Destruction Serpent Dragon, but once they reached the finish, none of the experts here would let the Black Destruction Serpent Dragon off. We shall see. The Black Destruction Serpent Dragon revealed a disdainful expression. With the help of the Eye of Destiny and his own skills, the Black Destruction Serpent Dragon believed that he could survive through the cracks of the two Lord dynasties and obtain great fortune. Zhao Feng surveyed his surroundings. I can't see Zhao Yufei. This meant that Zhao Yufei wasn't fast enough and might be spending more time on some tests. However, she would still be able to pass through the path of light in the end. Whoosh! A pair of scarlet wings of lightning spread out from Zhao Feng's back as he quickly sped through the path of light. He relied on his lightning wings flying technique and God's spiritual eye to avoid the danger. Zhao Feng soon threw off demigod ferocity again. As more and more experts started to approach the ball of light, the distance between each path of light became shorter, and Zhao Feng was only a bit more than a dozen yards away from demigod withered breath. Luckily, the area outside the path of light had the ability to block all power, so the power that radiated from demigod withered breath didn't affect Zhao Feng. There's still 1,000 yards till the end. Zhao Feng saw through the light and noticed some structures within it. However, the closer he got to the end, the more difficult the tests were. At a certain moment, Zhao Feng saw a ball of divine power hit a non-human demigod. Zhao Feng. Nan Gongsheng was stunned as he saw Zhao Feng speed through the path of light. He originally wanted to reach the finish before Zhao Feng at least, but from the looks of it, this was now impossible. At this moment, Zhao Feng was on par with the peak experts of the two Lord dynasties, and he was considered one of the strongest contestants in this path of light trial. Apart from Zhao Feng, there were Demigod Dragon Emperor, Demigod Dark Dragon, Demigod Withered Breath, Demigod Destruction, the Black Destruction Serpent Dragon, and Sacred King Samsara. As for demigod Dark Ocean from Nine Darkness Palace, demigod Floating Air, demigod Ferocity, demigod Scarlet Blood, and other demigods from some of the strongest forces were behind them. Zhao Feng's existence obviously stood out and raised a lot of attention. All the experts of the Dark Moon Lord dynasty wanted to kill Zhao Feng. "I'm almost there." Zhao Feng's eyes twinkled. He could also sense the killing intent coming from the non-human experts. Because of his excellent performance, almost all the non-humans had their eye on him, but there was obviously nothing he could do about this. Boom. Countless bolts of red lightning struck toward Zhao Feng on the path of light. The red lightning contained the scorching element of fire and a wisp of the laws of destruction. This was the final test on the path of light. Whoosh. Zhao Feng didn't dare to face the lightning that contained the laws of destruction head-on, so he used the lightning wings flying technique to dodge while preparing for the last charge. Chapter 1102, Sudden Appearance of Xin Wuheng. At this last critical stage, all of the other experts on the path of light tried their best. They even used some hidden cards and prepared for the last charge. Boom. Whoosh. The black destruction serpent dragon at the front was clad in a layer of flames as it charged forward. Charge. Zhao Feng's eyes focused. Wang wang wang. A terrifying surge of wind lightning appeared from within Zhao Feng's body. This power of wind lightning contained the power of God Tribulation lightning and could block the path of light's red lighting. Zhao Feng used the lightning wings flying technique and turned into a bolt of scarlet golden lightning that sped through the path of light and instantly threw off several demigods. Zhao Feng's sacred lightning body was the most resilient against lightning, and he was also using all the power of the God Tribulation lightning to resist the red lightning on the path of light. Zhao Feng also circulated his God's spiritual light to the maximum as his figure flashed through the path of light and avoided the balls of divine power falling from the sky. The closer he got to the giant ball of light ahead of him, the more compact the balls of divine power became. The advantage of experts that specialized in speed was displayed here. The Black Destruction Serpent Dragon specializes in the laws of destruction. It's so fast. That human also specializes in the laws of destruction. The group charging at the front couldn't help but exclaim. The power of God Tribulation lightning. Sacred King Samsara looked at Zhao Feng with surprise. Divine light of destruction. Demigod Destruction's eyes flashed with a bright golden light that was like the sun. It radiated a dazzling light and a power of destruction that made one's heart shake. However, the red lightning on his path of light was also terrifying. Boom. Golden light shot out of Demigod Destruction's eyes and clashed against the red lightning ahead. The owner of the Eyes of Destruction used a different method in comparison to other experts. He didn't specialize in speed or defense, he simply destroyed everything in his path. However, Demigod Destruction had been using this method the entire way, meaning that he had used a lot of his eye bloodline power. This resulted in the Eyes of Destruction becoming weaker, so his speed of progress was much lower than the Black Destruction Serpent Dragon and Zhao Feng. Fuck that black dragon and that human brat. Demigod Destruction revealed an unwilling expression. Demigod Destruction, who excelled in the laws of destruction, had been surpassed by the Black Destruction Serpent Dragon and Zhao Feng. This made him extremely angry. Whoosh. The Black Destruction Serpent Dragon charged forward and passed through the golden screen into the giant ball of light. Zhao Feng's figure also merged into the ball of light from the other side. It doesn't matter too much that human entered first. The main issue is the Black Destruction Serpent Dragon. That bastard's actions are weird. Could it have obtained some sort of support-type substandard god item in the god corpse? It will be really bad if the Black Destruction Serpent Dragon obtains even more fortune in there. The experts of both Lord dynasties were not pleased by how the Black Destruction Serpent Dragon was the first to enter the mysterious ball of light. Wang tilde. The scenery in front of Zhao Feng changed completely after he passed through the screen of white light. Unique structures, rooms, palaces, pavilions, and more appeared in sight. All of the buildings were spread chaotically throughout heaven and earth. For example, there was a large palace above Zhao Feng that faced downward, and many unique structures were within the palace. That's 9-star fallen metal. Zhao Feng's eyes suddenly looked at some stairs in a certain room. 9-star fallen metal was a legendary treasure that could be used to craft heaven-grade weapons. Apparently, the Great Gan Lord dynasty only had one piece the size of an arm. However, the entire staircase that Zhao Feng was staring at was made from 9-star fallen metal. This would be about the size of a muscular male. Such a precious material was used for some stairs? Zhao Feng's heart shook as he inspected the other places with his left eye. Under close inspection, Zhao Feng saw that every brick and random decoration were made from precious materials that were even more valuable than 9-star fallen metal. For example, Zhao Feng didn't even recognize the main materials used to build the houses and castles, but the weird aura and light coming from them proved that they were far more valuable than 9-star fallen metal. So, the light from the surface of the giant ball of light comes from these buildings. Zhao Feng exclaimed. On their way here, they could only see the blurry outlines of what was within the ball of light. The glow of light came from these buildings. Meow meow. The little thieving cat appeared on Zhao Feng's shoulders, and its black eyes started to twinkle. Any decoration here is a peerless treasure in the outside world. Zhao Feng stood there in complete shock, but he soon gave up on what he was thinking and calmed himself down. After remember the situation in Xieyang Palace, Zhao Feng knew that, while these things he saw looked to be precious, they might just be normal in the eyes of a god. The true treasures and fortune were definitely hidden deeper inside the buildings. I'll leave this place first. Zhao Feng immediately said to himself. The Black Destruction Serpent Dragon and he were the first to enter, but the other experts would arrive soon. Almost all of the non-human experts had their eyes on Zhao Feng at this point. As long as they met Zhao Feng, they would attack him for sure. Whoosh! Zhao Feng flew through the countless weird buildings. In order to face the potential upcoming dangers, Zhao Feng used the misty spatial world and left behind many spatial markings. There are so many buildings, and each one should contain a relatively big fortune. Zhao Feng's eyes were starting to become blurry. Time was becoming precious, and Zhao Feng needed to pick out the buildings that contained the best treasures and fortune. However, there were far too many buildings, so Zhao Feng couldn't decide which ones to choose. Ding! Ding! The little thieving cat threw a few old bronze coins into the air and pointed in a certain direction. At this moment, Zhao Feng's eyes also looked in a certain direction, and it was the same direction that the little thieving cat's divination led. What is that? There was a giant palace made from a golden white material very far away from Zhao Feng. It was ancient, and it had a majestic feeling to it. The golden white palace was crystal clear and gave off multicolored lights, so one couldn't see what was within this transparent building. Whoosh! Zhao Feng flew toward this golden white palace. What a powerful aura of divine power! A strong surge of divine power aura swept over the area before Zhao Feng got too close and stopped him from approaching. The fortune in this palace is definitely not simple. Zhao Feng's heart shook as he tried his best to approach this golden white palace. There were countless buildings in this dimension. Zhao Feng had spent some time moving around, but no other building radiated such a powerful aura. This was also the biggest building Zhao Feng had seen so far. He didn't even know what materials it was made of, but Zhao Feng wouldn't believe that there was no fortune here even if he had to bet his life on it. Wang tilde. Zhao Feng activated the sacred lightning body and charged forward. The entrance to the palace. Zhao Feng used his sacred lightning body at full power and approached the entrance to the golden white palace. After some time and effort, Zhao Feng managed to reach it. Bam! Zhao Feng circulated his power and attacked the golden white door. The door won't open? Zhao Feng's heart dropped. He tried several other methods, but they didn't work either. Whoosh! A blood-colored crystal pearl appeared in Zhao Feng's hand. He circulated some bloodline divine power from it and merged it into his palm as he thrust it toward the golden white giant door. However, the palace door remained unperturbed. There were no signs of reaction at all. Even divine power doesn't work? Zhao Feng was somewhat disappointed. Being one of the first people to arrive here, he had an advantage that others didn't. Zhao Feng originally thought that he had found a place with great fortune, but the doors of the palace were tightly shut, which meant that he had basically wasted his advantage here. Fortune does depend on luck indeed. Zhao Feng soon calmed down. Even if he was able to enter, that wasn't a guarantee that he would be able to actually obtain any treasures inside. Just looking at the majestic structure, it was easy to tell the trials would be difficult. What could be inside it? Zhao Feng got ready to leave this palace, but he at least wanted to see what was inside and whether or not it was some kind of heaven-defying treasure. Wang! A faint golden light spread across Zhao Feng's left eye. Hu tilde. Zhao Feng saw through the aura and light. His vision entered the palace, but it was unable to proceed further after a certain distance. There doesn't seem to be any precious treasures here? Zhao Feng was very surprised. There were no unique items at all. There was only a ball of terrifying divine power above the center of the palace. Wang tilde. Zhao Feng circulated the mysterious golden ball in the dimension of his left eye at full force, and an even more profound ripple of gold light spread across his eyes. Zhao Feng's eyes started to look further into the ball of divine power until a certain point, where his body trembled and his pupils contracted. The figure of a human. Zhao Feng couldn't believe it. There was a blurry human figure in the center of the divine power ball in this palace? How was that possible? Could this person be the owner of the god corpse? Cold sweat started to appear on Zhao Feng as he started to think. The eyes of the human figure suddenly opened just as Zhao Feng was about to leave. Zhao Feng? A profound voice sounded in Zhao Feng's mind. Xin Wuheng? Zhao Feng was in utter shock and became dazed. He was extremely familiar with the owner of this voice, but how could the human figure in the center of the divine power be Xin Wuheng? Zhao Feng suddenly remembered that the god corpse first appeared because of something that Xin Wuheng did. Ever since then, Zhao Feng had always thought that Xin Wuheng was killed by the surge of divine power from underground. He didn't expect Xin Wuheng to be here. At this moment, Zhao Feng finally understood. Xin Wuheng must have been the one who walked through the path of light that he saw earlier. Xin Wuheng arrived here earlier than anyone else. Zhao Feng, there's not much time. Each building here is fortune. Choose one with your instinct. Xin Wuheng's voice sounded in Zhao Feng's mind. A figure appeared not too far away. Demigod Dark Dragon. Zhao Feng's body shook, and his scalp tingled. Demigod Dark Dragon, the strongest demigod of the non-humans, the Grand Elder of the Dark Capital cult, the one who was rumored to have the #1 Imperial Dao bloodline, had appeared. Goodbye. Zhao Feng had no time to continue chatting with Xin Wuheng. If he was caught by Demigod Dark Dragon, Zhao Feng wouldn't be able to escape even if he had the misty spatial world and the god-slaying arrow. Whoosh! Zhao Feng waved the misty spatial world and disappeared amongst a flash of silver. Disaster is about to fall. This is just some of my repayments to you all. Find your own fortune. Xin Wuheng sighed in the golden white palace after Zhao Feng left. Chapter 1103, Competitive Mode. Next to an old pavilion. Wang tilde whoosh. With a flash of silver, the figures of Zhao Feng and the little thieving cat appeared. So close. Almost all of the demigods from both lord dynasties have now come in. Zhao Feng felt slightly impatient. If he met the demigods of the Great Gan Lord dynasty, he would be protected by them, excluding demigod Dark Ocean of course. But if he was together with the demigods of the Great Gan Lord dynasty, that would also mean that his fortune would drop dramatically. After all, if they had to protect Zhao Feng, they definitely wouldn't give the truly precious treasures to Zhao Feng. Because of that, Zhao Feng decided to continue acting alone. He had left many spatial markings behind, so as long as he was careful, it shouldn't be much of a problem. Zhao Feng then started to think about when he met Xin Wuheng a moment ago. He was still shocked and in disbelief that the person inside the golden white palace was Xin Wuheng. At the same time, Zhao Feng started to think about what Xin Wuheng had said to him. Zhao Feng, there's not much time. Each building here is fortune. Choose one with your instinct. The way he phrased it gave Zhao Feng the impression that all the fortune here was set up by Xin Wuheng. However, that wasn't the main point. There were 2 points that raised Zhao Feng's attention. The first was that Xin Wuheng said there wasn't much time. According to Zhao Feng's guesses, the fortune here would only exist for a certain amount of time before it ceased to exist, whether because of some time limit or some other reason. The second point was that Xin Wuheng said there was a lot of fortune here, but he told Zhao Feng to choose one. Why did Xin Wuheng tell Zhao Feng to choose only one fortune here when there were so many? Did he have to choose only one? Could it be that there's a physical limitation here, and one person can only enter one building and obtain one fortune? Zhao Feng came to this conclusion. If that was the case, then Zhao Feng could be happy. He had resisted the temptation to enter any random building after entering. Instead, he looked around and used the misty spatial world to leave spatial markings behind. Perhaps Xin Wuheng was lying, but Zhao Feng decided to listen just in case. Zhao Feng also thought about the fact that Xin Wuheng was in the golden white palace. Did that mean that the palace was Xin Wuheng's fortune? Zhao Feng opened the god's spiritual eye and inspected his surroundings. If I can only enter one building, I can't choose a bad one, Zhao Feng said in a decisive tone. Wang tilde. A faint ripple of golden light spread across Zhao Feng's left eye. Any building that he could completely see through was completely ignored by him. Whoosh. Zhao Feng carefully flew through the unique structures and inspected the buildings around him. At a certain moment, Zhao Feng saw a demigod from the dark capital cult inside a small wooden room. This demigod took almost everything that he could after entering this small room, but when he tried to leave, his body was sent away by a strong surge of spatial laws and disappeared. As I thought, one person can only obtain one fortune. Zhao Feng felt extremely lucky once more. According to what happened on the path of light, Zhao Feng guessed that this demigod should have been forcefully sent away to some other part of the god corpse. He was also very curious as to how Xin Wuhang knew this would happen. Ding! Ding! The little thieving cat threw up the old coins in its paws and started to divine. Meow meow. The little thieving cat waved its paws and pointed in a certain direction for Zhao Feng. Fine, I'll believe you. Zhao Feng trusted the little thieving cat's divination abilities. The little thieving cat had already pointed in the direction of the Golden White Palace before, so it clearly knew how to find the good stuff. Whoosh! Zhao Feng slowly flew in the direction that the little thieving cat pointed. He saw demigod Scarlet Blood from the Tai family on the way, but Zhao Feng remained motionless and only continued to move after he left. There doesn't seem to be any unique buildings around, Zhao Feng murmured after flying for a while, but he suddenly stopped his footsteps. That clock tower? Zhao Feng's eyes landed on a certain large clock tower. This clock tower was green, and although it couldn't be compared to the majestic Golden White Palace, it stood out amongst the other buildings present. However, the main reason why this clock tower attracted Zhao Feng's attention was because his vision couldn't see through the clock tower. Wang. Zhao Feng circulated the transparency ability of his left eye to the maximum but could only see through the outer area of the clock tower. This clock tower is definitely not simple. Its structure also seems to be related to the Heaven's Legacy race, Zhao Feng said in a certain tone. Zhao Feng approached the clock tower and prepared to inspect it from a closer distance, but a figure walked out from the other side of the clock tower right at this instant. Zhao Feng. The expression of the giant non-human figure turned to surprise and excitement. Demigod Ferocity had also been inspecting this clock tower. This clock tower was extremely unique and even blocked his divine sense. This was also why he didn't immediately sense that Zhao Feng was on the other side of the clock tower. Demigod Ferocity. Zhao Feng's voice shook. His transparency ability couldn't see through the clock tower, and his divine sense was blocked as well. So Zhao Feng didn't sense demigod ferocity on the other side of the clock tower either. The distance is too close. I can't use the misty spatial world in time. Zhao Feng's heart clenched as he felt a strong surge of life and death danger. The misty spatial world could only be used when the space was stable. The misty spatial world wasn't an instant teleport, it required half a breath's worth of time. In half a breath's time, demigod ferocity could kill Zhao Feng several dozen times at such a close distance. This is the only thing I can do. Zhao Feng led the little thieving cat and charged into the open clock tower. When Zhao Feng entered the clock tower, the door to the clock tower immediately started to close. Ha ha ha, let's see where you run to. Demigod Ferocity roared with laughter as he turned into a streak of light and entered through the closing gaps of the door. He never would have thought that he would be so lucky and find the person he wanted to kill so quickly. Damn it, he's coming as well. Zhao Feng's expression changed to shock. He originally thought that once he entered the clock tower, it would immediately close and not let anyone else in, just like the Golden White Palace. When Xin Wuhang was inside the palace, Zhao Feng couldn't enter no matter what. From the looks of it, Zhao Feng had miscalculated. Zhao Feng sped through the steps of the clock tower. He saw many treasures on the way, but he didn't have any time to pick them up. Whoosh! A dark silver bow and a dark golden arrow appeared in Zhao Feng's hands. Zhao Feng immediately pulled back the bowstring and shot out a replica god-slaying arrow. Bang tilde whoosh! The image of a giant dark golden arrow shot downward through the air as it unleashed a terrifying dark golden storm of power. You want to injure me with this? Demigod Ferocity revealed a gruesome smile. From his perspective, Zhao Feng wouldn't be able to escape even if he had wings. It wouldn't be too late to search for fortune after killing Zhao Feng. Shoo! A dark red tattered giant axe appeared in Demigod Ferocity's hand, and divine power surged as Demigod Ferocity held the weapon in front of himself. Boom! A storm of destruction instantly exploded, but the items within the clock tower remain unharmed. Go die. Demigod Ferocity roared with laughter and slashed out with a tattered giant axe, unleashing a wave of dark red light. Whoosh! 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 Zhao Feng quickly hid behind a white pole. Boom! Demigod Ferocity's attack was blocked by the white pole in front of Zhao Feng. Not even a scratch was left behind. Little thieving cat. In this dangerous situation, Zhao Feng could only ask the little thieving cat for help because he knew that the little thieving cat had a divine weapon. If the little thieving cat was able to use this divine weapon, it wouldn't be a problem to severely injure Demigod Ferocity, and as long as he could severely injure Demigod Ferocity, Zhao Feng would have a chance to breathe and leave with the misty spatial world. Meow meow. The little thieving cat shook its head and signaled that it still couldn't use the power of the divine weapon. Zhao Feng's expression became ugly, but he knew that the requirements of using a divine weapon were extremely strict. Firstly, the divine weapon required an owner, and once it recognized an owner, no one else could use it unless the owner's imprinted intent was destroyed. Secondly, divine weapons required time to activate their power. Lastly, divine weapons needed pure divine power. Do I really have to use the god-slaying arrow? Zhao Feng really didn't want to do so. He wasn't confident that he could kill Demigod Ferocity even if he used the true god-slaying arrow. At that point, he would still need to leave with the misty spatial world, meaning that he would have to give up all the fortune here on top of losing the god-slaying arrow itself. When can you hide now? Demigod Ferocity had a smug smile as he closed in on Zhao Feng. Whoosh! Whoosh! Two figures flew up the giant clock tower. Zhao Feng finally arrived at the top of the tower. This is? Zhao Feng's expression paused. There was only a metallic stand on the highest floor of the clock tower. A triangle-shaped black piece of metal with countless green lights floated above the metallic stand. This should be the most precious treasure in the clock tower. Zhao Feng didn't know what it was, but he could tell that much. Fuck it, I need to get something at least. Zhao Feng reached out toward the triangle on the metallic stand while preparing to take out the god-slaying arrow. At the very least, Zhao Feng needed to get something before leaving with the misty spatial world. However, when his palm touched the triangular black piece of metal, a brilliant beam of green light shot out. The green light washed over everything, and a cold mechanical voice sounded from the center of the triangular black metal, detected two living beings nearby. Opening competition mode. What's going on? Demigod Ferocity revealed an expression of fear when he felt this terrifying divine aura. Who tilde? The green light faded away, and Zhao Feng and Demigod Ferocity appeared in another dimension. There was nothing in the sky, and the ground was paved with metal. There were many unique metal buildings in the distance. Zhao Feng and Demigod Ferocity stood on a green metal board several hundred yards long. At the very center of the metal board was a metallic stand, and a triangular black piece of metal floated above it. Competitive mode is now open. Only the victor has the right to make an attempt at having the divine weapon recognize them as its owner. Chapter 1104, Mechanical Robot. Zhao Feng and Demigod Ferocity stood on a green metal board several hundred yards long. At the very center of the metal board was a metallic stand, and a triangular black piece of metal floated above it. Competitive mode is now open. Only the victor has the right to make an attempt at having the divine weapon recognize them as its owner. A mechanical voice sounded from the triangular-shaped piece of metal. Divine weapon? Demigod Ferocity's heart shook as he stared at the floating piece of metal on the metallic stand. Even Zhao Feng forgot the danger he was in at this moment. Although he couldn't tell what kind of divine weapon this was, a divine weapon would definitely have its own unique characteristics. Even if it was completely useless, it wasn't something that heaven-grade weapons could be compared to. Ha ha ha, I'm so lucky. I get to kill you and obtain a divine weapon at the same time. Demigod Ferocity started to roar with laughter. From his perspective, this divine weapon was destined to be his. Zhao Feng had a grim expression. Although he didn't know what competitive mode meant, the chances of Zhao Feng winning were indeed lower. Starting detection. Two transparent golden beams of light shot out from the metallic stand and swept over Zhao Feng and Demigod Ferocity. Soul intent, mystic light, sacred power, and physical defense are all at the late stages of the mystic light realm. Powerful blood, fire elemental bloodline, and an unknown eye bloodline. A mechanical voice sounded. Zhao Feng's expression paused. He didn't expect this metallic stand to be able to measure his strength so accurately. On the other side, Demigod Ferocity's expression turned to shock. Zhao Feng's strength indeed surpassed others of the same cultivation, but Demigod Ferocity didn't think that the three mentioned aspects of Zhao Feng's had all reached the late stages of the Mystic Light realm. Mystic Light Sacred Power and Soul Intent are both at the peak Sacred King rank. Slightly stronger physical defense, and a high-ranked bloodline. Has divine power. Considered a low-class demigod. In comparison to Zhao Feng, Demigod Ferocity's result was completely horrible and even made Demigod Ferocity ashamed of himself. The next instant, 3 surges of unknown green matter appeared on each side of the green metal board in front Zhao Feng and Demigod Ferocity for a total of 6. The unknown green matter then turned into 3 human-shaped mechanical robots. There were now 3 mechanical robots ahead of Zhao Feng. The first was directly in front of him, the second was in between him and the divine weapon, and the last was close to the divine weapon. The first to defeat 3 mechanical robots without using any outside help will be the victor. A voice sounded from the metallic stand. Zhao Feng inspected the first mechanical robot in front of him. This mechanical robot's soul intent, mystic light sacred power, and physical defense had all reached the late stages of the mystic light realm, and it had a strong eye bloodline. All in all, the mechanical robot in front of Zhao Feng had the same strength as Zhao Feng. On the other side, the 3 mechanical robots in front of Demigod Ferocity also had about the same strength as him. What kind of shitty test is this? Demigod Ferocity swore. It was extremely difficult to defeat 3 experts of the same cultivation. Normal people definitely couldn't do it. At this moment, the mechanical robot in front of Zhao Feng used a profound movement technique and started to approach Zhao Feng. From the looks of it, we just need to defeat the 3 mechanical robots, not fight against them at the same time. Of the 3 mechanical robots, only the mechanical robot close to Zhao Feng started to move. As long as Zhao Feng could defeat his 3 mechanical robots faster than Demigod Ferocity, he would be the victor. At this moment, Zhao Feng regretted the fact that he didn't duplicate some more god-slaying arrows. If he used some replica god-slaying arrows, he would be able to defeat these 3 mechanical robots easily, but now, he had no more replica god-slaying arrows left. However, even though he might have been able to defeat the 3 mechanical robots quickly with god-slaying arrows, the metallic stand had said, only the victor has the right to make an attempt at having the divine weapon recognize them as its owner. It would be a very big loss if Zhao Feng used the god-slaying arrows and the divine weapon didn't recognize him as its owner. Wang tilde. Zhao Feng immediately activated his sacred lightning body and released the power of his little world projection. Boom. Zhao Feng had a probing attitude in the first exchange, so he was pushed back a couple steps by the mechanical robot. The strength of the mechanical robot is the same as me when I'm at my peak. Zhao Feng concluded. In addition, the laws of this dimension were extremely unique. Zhao Feng wasn't able to summon the intents of heaven and earth here. The battle with the mechanical robot didn't actually cause much damage, it was suppressed to the minimum. If I kill Zhao Feng first, then the victor can only be me. Demigod Ferocity suddenly had a thought and flew toward Zhao Feng, but when he passed over the head of the second mechanical robot, the second mechanical robot's eyes suddenly flashed and it attacked Demigod Ferocity. What's going on? Demigod Ferocity started to panic. From the looks of it, if he tried to fly over to Zhao Feng's side, all 3 mechanical robots would attack him at the same time. Demigod Ferocity instantly flew back to where he was, and the second mechanical robot returned to its spot as the light in its eyes died down. Demigod Ferocity had to fight against the first mechanical robot. On the other side, Zhao Feng saw all of this. Sky-destroying sacred lightning palm. Zhao Feng used his sacred power of wind lightning and thrust out a scarlet golden palm of lightning. The mechanical robot also used a heaven tier skill and punched out a scarlet red fire. Boom. This time, Zhao Feng used his full power and was on par with the mechanical robot. Normal methods won't be able to defeat the mechanical robot. Zhao Feng's eyes became grim. Demigod Ferocity also realized this problem. The ability of these mechanical robots was the same as theirs. Furthermore, they were smarter than normal people. Their battle analysis abilities were even more precise. The only thing they lacked were hidden cards and killing moves. You underestimated my eye bloodline. Zhao Feng revealed a faint smile. Although the mechanical robot in front of him also had soul intent and a unique eye bloodline, Zhao Feng didn't believe that the eyes of this mechanical robot could be compared to his god's spiritual eye. Forbidden Illusion Lost World. Zhao Feng first used his strongest illusion technique to test it out. Whoosh! Zhao Feng's left eye turned into an endless purple and gold maze that was extremely alluring. The mechanical robot opposite him also circulated its eye bloodline power and used an illusion technique. The two invisible sources of mental energy clashed. The next instant, Zhao Feng's mental energy illusion technique defeated the mechanical robot's illusion technique. Success! Zhao Feng's expression turned to joy. The power of the mechanical robot's eye bloodline could perhaps be ranked within the top 20 Imperial Dao bloodlines, but it was impossible for it to be compared to Zhao Feng's god's spiritual eye. After being affected by Zhao Feng's illusion technique, the mechanical robot started to falter. Sky-destroying Sacred Lightning Palm. Zhao Feng once again used the powerful palm technique, and it landed on the mechanical robot. However, the physical defense of this mechanical robot was on par with Zhao Feng's, so Zhao Feng's palm didn't do any critical damage to it. In fact, the palm woke the mechanical robot up from Zhao Feng's illusion. Illusion Soul Blast. Zhao Feng used a small-range illusion technique as he charged forward and thrust out several scarlet golden palms. Boom. Peng. The first mechanical robot was soon defeated by Zhao Feng. The eyes of the second mechanical robot in the distance started to glow as it started to radiate a powerful force. Come. Zhao Feng showed no signs of weakness as he charged toward the second mechanical robot. He used the same method, a simple illusion technique right from the start. This mechanical robot seems to have stronger resistance to illusions. Zhao Feng was very surprised. Could it be that, because the first mechanical robot lost to illusions, the mechanical robot this time has stronger resistance? Zhao Feng guessed in his heart. On the other side, Demigod Ferocity started to become impatient after seeing Zhao Feng defeat the first mechanical robot so quickly. Fuck it. Demigod Ferocity revealed a fierce look as a fuming blood-colored crystalline pill appeared in his hand. This was one of the hidden cards he had prepared for this journey into the God Corpse, the blood-fuming frenzy demonic pill. It could increase all of Demigod Ferocity's aspects, and it infused a fierce force into his sacred power, making it more deadly. Boom. Demigod Ferocity's aura changed completely after eating this pill. A dark red aura that made one's heart shake spread through his body. When one looked from afar, he seemed to be a demonic god from hell. Kill. Demigod Ferocity started to slash out with his weapon as he used the Sky Fierce Slash after eating the blood-fuming frenzy demonic pill. Boom. Wang tilde. The giant dark red wave of light rippled through everything and crushed toward the mechanical robot. The mechanical robot in front of Demigod Ferocity managed to block it for a moment before being completely defeated. Now, the second. Demigod Ferocity's expression was filled with insanity and pain as he charged at the second mechanical robot. Although Demigod Ferocity's battle power right now was very great and most of his consciousness was still clear, he knew that this state wouldn't be able to last for very long, so he needed to end the fight as soon as possible. Zhao Feng knew that he couldn't keep hiding things anymore after seeing Demigod Ferocity try so hard. Mental Energy Spike. Wind Lightning Eye Flame. This time, Zhao Feng used his strongest offensive eye bloodline techniques against the mechanical robot in front of him. This mechanical robot also used defensive soul-based techniques against Zhao Feng, but since Zhao Feng had the god's spiritual eye, his resistance against soul attacks was very strong. Thus, he wasn't affected. Tribulation Lightning Eye Flame. Zhao Feng circulated some of his God Tribulation lightning symbols as he used his technique. A ball of burning God Tribulation lightning symbols exploded in the face of the mechanical robot with a destructive aura. Bam! Zhao Feng punched out and sent the mechanical robot flying. At the same time, Demigod Ferocity also killed his second mechanical robot, and they charged at the third mechanical robot at the same time. Boom! Bam! Zhao Feng realized that this mechanical robot had a certain amount of resilience against his illusions and his offensive eye bloodline techniques. The strength of this mechanical robot is probably on par with Sacred King Greenlight. Zhao Feng analyzed. Sacred King Greenlight was considered a middle-tier Sacred King. He was stronger than normal Sacred Kings but not as strong as Sacred King Feather Spirit or Sacred King Dark Screen. At this instant, Zhao Feng was just a couple dozen yards away from Demigod Ferocity's battlefield. If it wasn't for this dimension suppressing all powers, Zhao Feng probably wouldn't even be able to block the shockwaves from Demigod Ferocity's battle. The blood-fuming frenzy demonic pill won't last much longer, but the strength of the mechanical robot is becoming stronger. Demigod Ferocity knew the situation very clearly. If that's the case, then I'll kill you first instead. Demigod Ferocity revealed a deadly expression. He had defeated 2 of the mechanical robots already, so he didn't need to be scared of them attacking him at the same time anymore. From Demigod Ferocity's point of view, killing Zhao Feng wouldn't be very hard. Thinking up to there, Demigod Ferocity took the attacks from the 3rd mechanical robot head-on and approached Zhao Feng with his weapon, about to unleash a barrage of attacks against Zhao Feng. Chapter 1105, The Divine Weapon Recognizing Its Owner. Zhao Feng had the god's spiritual eye open as he fought the 3rd mechanical robot, so he was able to use the lightning wings flying technique to effectively dodge Demigod Ferocity's surprise attack. Zhao Feng started to realize that the situation wasn't looking good. Demigod Ferocity now only needed to stall 1 mechanical robot while attacking Zhao Feng instead of 3, so he would be able to force Zhao Feng into dire situations or kill him outright. After missing his attack, Demigod Ferocity took another blow from the mechanical robot head-on as he prepared to unleash another attack against Zhao Feng. Wind Lightning Eye Flame. Zhao Feng circulated his eye intent and God Tribulation lightning symbols as purple and gold flames started to form in his left eye. A wisp of gold and white lightning also appeared within it. Boom. Whoosh. A ball of transparent purple and gold flames that contained the destructive aura of God Tribulation lightning exploded in Demigod Ferocity's face. Arg. Demigod Ferocity screamed out. He never expected Zhao Feng to actually fight back while he was still fighting the 3rd robot, so he was caught off guard. Zhao Feng's soul intent was much stronger than normal late-stage sacred lords at this point, so even though his Wind Lightning Eye Flame wasn't able to do much damage to Demigod Ferocity, it could still affect him. Demigod Ferocity's attack was broken, and he paused for a moment. On the other side, the mechanical robot unleashed a fierce barrage of attacks against Demigod Ferocity and injured him, but Demigod Ferocity soon recovered and steadied the situation as he prepared to attack Zhao Feng again. Demigod Ferocity, don't force me. Zhao Feng revealed a deadly expression as he warned. Hee, ignorant ant. Demigod Ferocity laughed in disdain. If Zhao Feng really had a method that could do something to him, why didn't Zhao Feng use it earlier when he was chasing after Zhao Feng's group? At that time, Kun Yuan, Sacred King Darkscreen, and several other sacred lords were present to help Zhao Feng, and they were still chased by Demigod Ferocity. Now that Zhao Feng was alone, what could he do? However, the next instant, Demigod Ferocity was completely dazed. A scarlet golden arrow suddenly appeared in Zhao Feng's hand. The instant the scarlet golden arrow appeared, a piercing power radiated from it that even caused the metallic materials present to tremble. The mechanical robot in front of Zhao Feng also sensed a life and death danger and didn't dare to attack Zhao Feng. A faint glow of light flashed across the green triangular lines of the metallic stand briefly before fading. God-slaying arrow. Demigod Ferocity's expression changed dramatically as cold sweat poured from his forehead. Under normal situations, he would have been confident to block Zhao Feng's God-slaying arrow, but at this moment in time, he was facing a demigod-level mechanical robot. If he was severely injured by the God-slaying arrow, he would die at the hands of the demigod-level mechanical robot. As Demigod Ferocity was starting to panic, a large surge of eye intent started to circulate from Zhao Feng's left eye. Wang tilde wang tilde wang tilde. A ball of God Tribulation lightning symbols flashed with wisps of soulfire as it started to form in Zhao Feng's left eye and finally turned into a purple ball of crystalline God Tribulation lightning soul flames. Whoosh. A ball of burning God Tribulation lightning symbols landed on Demigod Ferocity's soul. Shoo! Demigod Ferocity screamed out in pain. Limitless bolts of destructive lightning seemed to pierce through his soul, and bone-melting pain spread through the depths of his soul. Humph, I was just scaring you. Zhao Feng snickered coldly as he put the God-slaying arrow away. Although his God Tribulation lightning eye flames attack was successful, Demigod Ferocity was, in the end, a demigod. No matter how weak his soul intent was relative to his cultivation, it wouldn't be too weak, so the Tribulation lightning eye flame didn't do much damage to Demigod Ferocity. However, it was at this moment that the effect of demigod Ferocity's blood-fuming frenzy demonic pill was starting to wear off. He was hit by the god Tribulation Lightning Eye Flame, and now he needed to face the attacks from the demigod mechanical robot. That was enough to do a lot of damage to him, but as a demigod, he wouldn't lose because of a single eye bloodline technique from Zhao Feng. As long as he recovered, he would be able to turn the tide. The only problem was that Zhao Feng wouldn't give him a chance. After using the Tribulation Lightning Eye Flames, Zhao Feng started to prepare his next eye bloodline technique. Mysterious lights started to flash around his left eye, and his golden hair started to blow even though there was no wind. The mysterious golden ball in the dimension of his left eye started to spin as a profound ripple of golden light that seemed to contain the origin of all things in the world surged into Zhao Feng's left eye. God. Eye. Disintegration. Zhao Feng's left eye flashed with a unique purple and gold light that instantly shot through demigod Ferocity's body millions of times and analyzed the structure of his body. Zhao Feng then set demigod Ferocity as the target and started to disintegrate him. Demigod Ferocity only just recovered from the pain of Zhao Feng's Tribulation Lightning Eye Flame when he felt a weird feeling. He suddenly realized that his body was disappearing bit by bit. Unseen atoms were slowly disappearing as if they never existed in the first place. At the same time, demigod Ferocity's soul started to disappear. He was fading away. Zhao Feng used his sacred lightning body in defensive methods at full power to block the attacks from the mechanical robot as he continued to use the God Eye disintegration to weaken demigod Ferocity. He was basically teaming up with the demigod mechanical robot to defeat demigod Ferocity. Zhao Feng also felt his eye intent disappearing very quickly. As expected, disintegrating a demigod wasn't a joke. "What are you doing?" Demigod Ferocity roared. At this instant, his soul, body, and sacred power were all fading away. After being hit by Zhao Feng's eye bloodline technique earlier, the effect of the blood-fuming frenzy demonic pill had also run out by this point. Putting aside Zhao Feng, he couldn't even deal with the demigod mechanical robot right now. Furthermore, the divine weapon had already told them the rules. They couldn't use any outside help, thus, demigod Ferocity couldn't use his clone just like how Zhao Feng couldn't use the little thieving cat. Boom. Demigod Ferocity felt his power weaken, and he was now at a disadvantage against the robot due to the fear in his heart. Demigod Ferocity had no ability to attack Zhao Feng in the physical dimension anymore. If that's the case, I'll use soul attacks. Although demigod Ferocity didn't specialize in the soul, there was no problem using some normal soul attacks given his level of soul intent. Boom. Demigod Ferocity's relatively weak soul intent turned into a fierce giant shadow that crushed over toward Zhao Feng. Humph. Zhao Feng groaned as his soul shook, but he still didn't stop the God Eye disintegration. Demigod Ferocity's soul attack contained no skill at all, but it still had raw power. However, Zhao Feng's soul defense was his forte. His god's spiritual eye was extremely resilient against soul attacks, and the defense of his lightning soul body was extremely unique. What? He managed to block it? Demigod Ferocity was stunned once again. He couldn't believe that an early-stage sacred lord could block his soul intent. Even if Zhao Feng's soul intent had reached the late stages of the mystic light realm, this was impossible. Again. Demigod Ferocity blocked the mechanical robot while circulating his soul intent to attack Zhao Feng once more. The situation isn't looking good. Zhao Feng's expression was grim. The energy required to disintegrate a demigod far exceeded his expectations. Even though demigod Ferocity was becoming weaker due to his God Eye disintegration, Zhao Feng might not last as long as demigod Ferocity. He still had to bear the attacks from his mechanical robot and also block the weak soul attacks of a demigod while his eye intent was quickly used up. Demigod Ferocity's soul attack this time might be able to stop Zhao Feng's God Eye disintegration and cause Zhao Feng to fail the test, but Zhao Feng still gathered his soul intent and fought back. Peng. 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 A thumping sound came from Zhao Feng's left eye. The ancient is broken, and the ancient god slain will turn into endless dust. An old sigh seemed to echo throughout time as it sounded in Zhao Feng's ears. Boom. The mysterious golden ball in the dimension of his left eye shook as Zhao Feng's bloodline and eye bloodline power started to burn. A faint golden fire then covered Zhao Feng's body. Boom. A forceful ancient roar that looked over the universe shot out from the god's spiritual eye. Zhao Feng seemed to turn into a giant god of the ancient era. His every action shook heaven and earth. Boom. This sudden change increased Zhao Feng's eye intent, but his god-eye disintegration was also stopped. Hu tilde. On the other side, demigod Ferocity's soul intent touched the ancient aura and was repulsed by a terrifying power. Bam! Demigod Ferocity's soul was severely injured, and he spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. This is the aura from the ancient era. The origin aura of the ancient. Demigod Ferocity's expression turned to fear. Zhao Feng's suddenly change made him panic. At the same time, he really wanted the origin aura of the ancient from Zhao Feng's body. That was the main key to becoming a god. The demigod mechanical robot in front of demigod Ferocity stopped attacking demigod Ferocity and bowed in front of Zhao Feng. "I'll kill you." Demigod Ferocity's eyes spun as he revealed a deadly look. He had been in despair, but he suddenly realized that Zhao Feng's eye technique had stopped. The demigod mechanical robot was also bowing on the ground and not attacking. At this moment, Zhao Feng's soul intent was much stronger. If that was the case though, then demigod Ferocity would just directly destroy Zhao Feng's body. Sky Fear Slash. Demigod Ferocity ignored his injuries and waved his giant axe, slashing out a dark red wave of light. Not good. Zhao Feng's expression changed. Although his soul intent was very strong right now and he could heavily injure demigod Ferocity if he used a powerful soul eye bloodline technique, he was still unable to stop demigod Ferocity in terms of physical attacks. If Zhao Feng was lucky and focused on using a soul attack, he might be able to completely kill demigod Ferocity and obtain victory, but Zhao Feng's body might be completely destroyed as well. However, an unexpected change suddenly happened at this moment. The green lines on the black triangular item in between Zhao Feng and demigod Ferocity suddenly radiated a dazzling green divine light. Whoosh! Whoosh! The light started to spin around the triangular metal as a mechanical voice sounded. The divine weapon has successfully recognized its owner.